630 CHED presents The Announcers. Opinion, personality, passion. The Announcers on 630 CHED, Edmonton's breaking news and conversation station.
Thank you for joining us on this week's installment of The Announcers. Ryan Jesperson, joined by Jalen Nye, Andrew Gross.
Hello.
Are the two of you still saying Happy New Year?
No. I thought you were going to ask, are the two of you still together?
Well, did you make it through the holidays?
Time is ticking. We're coming up to 1 year, right? For all of us on Monday.
We certainly are.
No, I'm still saying Happy New Year to people that I haven't seen.
And how long will that extend?
Probably another couple of days.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that even true?
Which?
That you're doing that? Because
Yes, I
typically
am.
people say Happy New Year and you go, you too.
I
Are you
do.
actually
In my-
initiating Happy New Year to people?
Yes, and in emails, it's like Happy New Year. Hope you had a wonderful time. Yes,
Yeah.
still.
I've found myself, there's sort of the three zones. There's when do you start saying Merry Christmas? I sort of think maybe the second week of December,
Yeah.
maybe December 20th. And then there's that gray area between the 2 days, the 25th and the 1st. What do you know, where do you transition? I'll say Merry Christmas till about the 27th. Happy New Year starting on the 28th. And then all throughout the Happy New Year till I think single digits, January 9th.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, I think
The
that's
10th
it.
feels like we should be moving past.
Yeah, we're into it by then.
Well, I'm possibly just not a good person. I'll say Merry Christmas on my way out the door on Christmas Eve, and then I'm done with it. And Happy New Year is on New Year's Eve.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
This was the guy that was all upset about the Starbucks cups and taking the Christmas
I wasn't
off the
upset.
cups, and
I
he's
was
not even.
not.
Come on, you were so.
In no way was I upset.
Okay.
I am a little upset to see Tim Hortons now is back to their regular cups. Not that I want to start any kind of new controversy, but it just sort of, as they hand you that first brown cup, you go, oh,
You missed the hockey playing one? Which had
whatever,
Christmas written all
whatever
over it,
was
too.
on it, yeah.
Tim Hortons kind of got piled on last year. Some people didn't think that they were supportive enough of pipelines. Others thought they were too supportive of pipelines. I think Tim Hortons is probably happy to just stay out of
Yes.
any debate or controversy for a little while.
You know what? There was just some sales person at Tim Hortons that got a call, and they were, hey, I got an order, with no idea what that was going to turn into. Like, hey, I found somebody who wanted to advertise on our screens. This is good
This
news.
is great.
A buddy of
the phone
mine
rang.
by the name of Mike runs a business. He does junk removal here in town. And he was cold called the other day by a guy, speaking of advertising and generating new business, a guy that claimed he could help him with that. He said he was a web developer, and well, maybe I'll just let the guy's words speak for themselves. Mike tells me he was in the middle of doing a job, hands are full, so to speak, and his phone rang. It was a local number, 780 number, so he answered it because it could be someone looking to hire him or someone looking for a quote. So he picks up the phone with one hand, the other arm full, and realizes right off the bat the guy's cold calling him, probably, at least it sounded like reading from a script, and so Mike hung up. And then the guy called back. As a matter of fact, he immediately called back. Are you ready?
Hey, ready?
Buckle up. He left him this voicemail.
I was just looking at your website, The Junk Guys, and I noticed it was pretty awful. I noticed you guys advertise on Kijiji, which is pretty sad. So if you want to, start a real business and get your website on Google and maybe get some real business that way rather than relying on Kijiji, then give me a shout back and I'd be happy to help you rather than hanging up on me like an
Oh, just wait.
because your website sucks. If you try to go onto it on your phone, you're losing over 75% of your business that way because your website just sucks. It's like 5 years old, nobody uses it, and then you wonder why you're not getting any any business from Kijiji. You're relying on all your all your customers from one base. So give it some thought, and if you feel like investing a little bit of money and starting a real business, and call me back like a man, and we'll have a conversation, and I'll build you an awesome website, and I'll make some money, and you'll make some money on Google. How's that sound? Cool, man. Thanks. Bye.
Cool, man.
Cool, man. All right, see ya.
All right, see you, bud.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is a business hanging by a thread, but I don't think it's the junk business.
Yeah. Oh, my.
Isn't that incredible? Mm-hmm. So I couldn't help myself. We were just sitting around Wednesday night having a couple of beers, and he says, "Hey, listen to this. Listen to the voicemail I got today." And I sat there and I said, "Oh no, we need to do something with this.
Yeah.
This is more than just sharing this around the table." This needs to be shared. And what a response on Thursday morning's show when we put it out over Ched's airwaves. People demanding to hear it again.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Which is why we had to tweet it. And you
Yeah.
can find it on my Twitter profile page. But I'll tell you, I've never heard anything quite like that.
That is just.
I think that's
just-
great.
When you talk about, is he? I just
She's still just processing it.
Is it like, does he have kahunas like this big, or is he a
Oh, well.
complete idiot?
Those
both.
things are much bigger than the thing in his head. I'll tell you that.
Something's clanking.
There's no movement up here. That guy's an idiot, plain and simple. And you know what's funny about that is the entitlement that he feels he has to cold call. And you must put aside what you're doing because I have a message for you, and it involves me making money off you. And how dare you hang up on me? How dare you?
And you're insulting me.
Nobody. First of all, nobody wants those calls at all about anything. Could we just put that out there? I don't care if I want a cruise. I don't want to get a website. There's nothing that I can't think of a single. I don't want to invest. There's nothing. Don't ever call me. Just don't ever call me. But if you do call, and if you're accustomed to making those cold calls, and I've done cold calls before for legitimate businesses, not saying that his isn't, but it isn't, you expect to get hung up on from time to time. People are generally not interested. You know, so that's just the way that works. But for the guy to actually phone back tells me he's not frustrated with being hung up on. He's frustrated by a failing business concept and a failing sales pitch. And he's had enough. That was the moment at which he went, you know what? I can't take it anymore. I'm phoning this guy back. And the fact that he used profanity throughout tells me he lost control. Beyond just having to phone the guy back, he lost control.
Because Andrew, actually, several people, and I can almost safely say, unless I'm forgetting about something, it probably gleaned more of an audience response and more response on Twitter than anything else that we've talked about in the last year. I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
People were gobsmacked by this, and we heard from several people. One small business owner in Red Deer, I read the email she sent me, said, I recognize that voice. I recognize that pitch. She said the insults were different, but they were just as aggressive. The profanity was just as prominent. Sounds like this guy's been making the rounds. Several people suggested, though, there's actually maybe some strategy behind this that, say, one listener suggested, if this guy were to leave a message like that for, say, Kevin O'Leary, he might get hired.
So,
no.
Yeah.
I thought about it and no.
Is this? I'm sorry. I'm still trying to process the words, and I'm having.
How about
trouble-
call me back like a real man?
Like a real man.
I know.
What does
It's
that
wrong
look
on
like?
so many levels.
Did we find? Does this guy have a legitimate website design company?
I have.
Do we
I mean,
know?
it-
Or is he
it's-
just being a scammer dude?
We know his phone number, and we're not going to share
Do we know
it
his
for obvious
website?
reasons. We
Does
don't
he
know.
have a website?
Oh, I mean, should we call him and find out?
I would
don't
love
know.
to.
Did he leave a company name? Did a number come up? Like, I just.
A lot of people wanted the number.
Oh,
Sure.
absolutely.
You know the best thing about that phone call, the best thing about that whole situation is that in this day and age of social media particularly, where you put yourself out there even in the smallest way and people criticize you, it's often you feel as though, maybe I'm not as bright as I thought I was, or maybe my opinion is not as valid as I thought it should be. But when you hear a call like that, you're like, well, I'm smarter than that guy, though. I'm doing okay.
But do you think maybe the guy was thinking, hey, the company is the junk guys, right? They sound kind of, they're
Sure,
young.
yeah,
Maybe, maybe I'm going to talk to them like that, and maybe they think it would be okay and cool if I drop a few.
Well, I would say, and
F-bombs
not to not to whatever, and not that it matters, as a matter of fact. But Mike is about 6'3", about 235 pounds, barrel-chested, massive bicep. I mean, the guy removes junk
Yes.
for a living. He's heavily tattooed. He's got a shaved head. He's got a good beard. You can trust him. He's a fabulous father of soon-to-be 2. He's a great guy. But I certainly wouldn't run my mouth like that to his face. So this guy might want to be careful what he asks for. Not that anyone would ever imply that violence would enter the equation,
No.
but the
But-
language is very inflammatory.
One of the things he asked for was for a call back like a man. So my question is, what does that entail? Do you have to have a beer in one hand and chicken wings in the other? What does it look like to call back like a
One
man?
hand down your pants,
Yeah,
the other
exactly.
one scratching your...
Yo!
That might be it.
So what did your buddy do? Has he done it?
Oh,
after that?
he's
just
loving it.
okay.
He just thought it was the funniest thing. I mean, this guy is one of the most copacetic dudes you'll ever meet. He's one of my hiking buddies, and nothing rattles him. I mean, he dropped his bear spray out of the holster on day 2 of the hike. It was punctured on a rock, started spraying everywhere. Cool as a cucumber, he walked, not ran away. And then didn't sweat the fact that we were hiking the Skokie Valley, our footprints over grizzly prints, without a canister of spray.
I said, Mike, a bear, I'll just punch him in the face.
Like a man. You may want to hike near me. He went, nah, I'm fine. So this didn't rattle him. He was totally entertained by it. But I said, I think this is a talker. I think people might be interested to hear this.
Absolutely. And you know what, the other thing, I mean, Mike has been in touch with me through, I've talked about cleaning out the mess that is the downstairs of my house. And he's reached out and just said, hey, give me a call anytime. And I guess that's kind of cold calling in a way, but it was very kind. It was very nice. And I thought to myself, my gosh, this week as I'm doing this, I need to call Ryan, talk to Ryan, find out who the guy is. I mean, the guy's not hurting for business. I've been on his website. It's a fine business, right?
It's right. I mean,
that's the other side of this for me is because I spent so many years in sales that aside from the language and aside from the inappropriateness of the return call, just his complete inability to close a deal. I mean, that phone conversation, that message is never going to close a deal. And when it comes to cold calling, there's 3 things you have to accomplish. 1, you have to get their attention fast. So I want to save you $12,000. Give me a second to tell you how.
You've got my attention.
Right. Second is keep them on the phone for more than 2 to 3 minutes. Your close rate goes way up. And then overcome the objection. That's the last thing. So you got the guy going, maybe. And then you go, you know what? What's holding you back? Is it the price? I'll cut it in half. Boom, close the deal. But no one ever gets an order by, you know what? And he's not even necessarily right. I mean, in saying,
it's
this
not
is why you're
factual.
not getting business. How do you know I'm not getting business?
Yeah, you don't know I'm not getting business.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want that job. Like, I mean, a sales
Which
job.
one?
Well, the sales job. I mean, I think a sales job can be pretty tough. Like doing that cold calls.
Sure.
I would.
But he's
suck
the
at that
actual
big-
he's the actual web designer there, right?
I know, but
he needs to hire a salesman.
Yeah, he does. That's right. Actually, do those calls. I think is probably one of the toughest gigs to do out there because there's a lot of rejection.
Sure, of
there's
course.
a lot of I'm getting hung up on and.
I've done this and closing in now in 15 times. Can I play it again?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
why
just so
wouldn't you?
good. Here it is again. This is incredible. This is one of the best voicemails that I think I've ever heard. Again, this was a cold caller after being hung up on the message he left.
Hey there. I was just looking at your website, The Junk Guys, and I noticed it was pretty awful. I noticed you guys advertise on Kijiji, which is pretty sad. So if you want to, start a real business and get your website on Google and maybe get some real business that way rather than relying on Kijiji, then give me a shout back and I'd be happy to help you rather than hanging up on me like an because your website sucks. If you try to go onto it on your phone, you're losing over 75% of your business that way because your website just sucks. It's like 5
If you
years
didn't hear
old,
him the first
nobody
time.
uses it, and then you wonder why you're not getting any any business from Kijiji. You're relying on all your customers from one base. So give it some thought, and if you feel like investing a little bit of money and starting a real business, then call me back like a man, and we'll have a conversation, and I'll build you an awesome website, and I'll make some money, and you'll make some money on Google.
Now finish
How's
on a
that
positive
sound?
note.
Cool, man. Thanks. Bye.
There you go. By the way, this
man.
guy was able to find his website.
Yeah, isn't that right?
I mean, how else did he contact him, right? Unless the website's in Latin or something. He thought, you know what? There's a little bit of a maneuver we could make there to put that into
I could
English.
run through the yellow pages anymore. Okay, what's under J?
And as I study this call, I mean, as I just continue to enjoy it time and time again, I can't get past either how he clears his throat.
Thank you.
Hey, he goes, like this is the guy that punches mirrors when he doesn't like his haircut. Oh yeah.
He's had to deal with a great deal of rejection. It is life, and he's just come to his limit.
I sold books door to door, educational books door to door one
Door to
summer
door. Yeah, that's tough.
in Ontario, and it was it was a tough gig. It's a business that's been around for more than 100 years. The Southwestern Company, they started selling Bibles, and then they moved into. I mean, that was kind of the old thing, right? The snake oil salesman, the Bible salesman, the lotions and potions guys that used to come around door to door. That was how they did it back in the day, and that's how Southwestern got its start. Anyway, cut to present day, they're selling. Well, I don't know now. I guess what do you do with apps and the internet? I guess they're probably still selling books, but that was the objection we always had to answer, Andrew, back in 1997, the summer I did it. What about the internet? We don't need books anymore.
Right, yeah.
We learned how to answer that objection. I can tell you there were lucrative days. There were days when we did very well, paid $0 an hour, but a handsome 40% commission on the sales of the books. So you can make a couple of grand in a day.
Yeah.
There were also days where you went over. And you knocked on your first door at 7:59 a.m. You knocked on your last door at 6:01 p.m. And if you were able to close, we always targeted 10% of the knocks. You'd do very well. If you had
really good.
3 people out of 30 agree to buy something from you, you were doing okay, which means 27 of them either politely said no or said no in some other way.
Now, if they said no, politely or otherwise, and shut the door on you, did you go back then to a phone booth and phone them?
Yeah,
Just as a follow-up.
I kicked in I would kick the door, and then I would leave a note. Your house sucks.
Yeah.
No one wants to come visit.
You ever want to read a Bible like a real man?
If you ever want to learn books like a real man, give me a call.
By the way, anyone who's in sales also knows fundamental to sales is always keeping it positive, right? And I don't mean just the insults, but somebody designed that guy's website. Right? So you don't go into it saying your website sucks. You go into it saying, look, that website has probably served you well, but I'll tell you what, I could take you to a new level, and then put the positive on it. It would probably increase sales by, just keep them on the phone, keep it positive, keep moving along.
It's like you kind of get them in, and then you give them the little.
And then you steal their wallet.
Yeah,
Exactly. You want to hug them so you can get into that back pocket. But the thing is, you want to always appear as being their partner as well and being friendly. And you're there, listen, I'm going to help you. You're going to help me. We're going to do this together, right? I can't imagine that guy. I can't imagine running into that guy anywhere under any circumstance where I'm like, you know what? I need to spend more time with him.
Yeah. I'd like you to look after and develop the voice and the face of my business.
Yeah.
Please.
Why don't you get rid of your junk like a real man?
Yeah,
that's a good slogan.
Exactly. Your house looks like,
Your house sucks.
why don't you give me a call? And then alluding to his commission or to his fee as well. I'll make a little money. You'll make a little money. I mean, I feel like this thing could be broken down line by line by line and just absolutely annihilated, eviscerated.
You know what? I feel like if there's a public speaking course, if there's a sales course, if there's anything, this should be on that in that course somewhere. They should be listen to this, and then, as you say, you absolutely can attack it from a million different angles. There's not one right thing there. And you two are being very positive and saying, well, wait a minute, maybe it's a really novel approach. You're trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt.
No, I'm not.
Okay, all
I
right.
just kind of threw it out
I
there.
want to meet the guy.
right.
I will
do
say I
too.
want to meet him.
I just kind of threw it out there as a, what?
Yeah, well, maybe.
You know what maybe we could do is if he could get rid of the profanity, you could bring him in on the 6:30 CHED Afternoon News and cold call people live on the air and see how many he can close.
How much fun would that be?
It would be like watching a hockey game. You wonder what happens next.
And we could turn it into a huge positive. If, with every person he gets a no from, he could say, well, what about junk? Do you have junk? Because I know a guy. We
Yeah.
can throw business your buddy's way as well. It's
There's and on Twitter people and I've actually had to stop checking my phone because it's to use the cliche because it's true, it's blowing up. Like this is blowing up, and that's because people are hashtagging marketing, advertising, PR, cold calling, sales. So we're hearing from people all around the world. Bob Cooney on Twitter in responding to this says, "Attention, random cold callers. Number 1, manage your expectations. Number 2, be gracious if the answer is no." And then he goes on to make a very good point. Plus, you never know when you'll wind up on the radio.
Yeah.
In a very unflattering way, a good lesson for a future communications seminar.
well said.
Oh, wouldn't it be nice to just...
Did you ever have a moment, either at this job or another, where you became so frustrated that even for a moment you compromised your professionalism? Have you ever been in a position where you've done something you wished you could take back because you were professionally frustrated?
Is there a statute of limitations to
I
these
don't
things?
know. That's the problem.
Let's talk about jobs previous to this one.
Sure. That's so long ago now.
I sure have. I remember
yeah.
working at Earl's. Somebody left me a 0
Oh.
tip, and I had given them excellent service. I can acknowledge if I did a lousy job,
Yeah.
I'll acknowledge it. There was a 0, and they had turned the 0 in the tip line into a sad face. So I committed the cardinal sin. I broke rule number 1 in the service industry, and I followed them out the door.
Oh.
And I didn't say anything I regretted, but I ran up to them and then in front of them, and I said, I just need to know what it was that I did that prompted, and I was hoping she didn't know. I was talking to him,
Yes.
and I said, I was hoping you would be able to let me know what it was that I did or didn't do to prompt a 0 tip. And he stammered and stuttered, and I said, that's what I thought. Thanks for coming into Earl's.
Oh.
And I walked back inside, and as soon as I did that, I said, that was probably a bad call. That was probably one
No,
I
I
should
think
have.
that's a good-
That was probably one I should have shaken off.
I don't know. I would have backed you up on that because how are you to improve if you're not to know
Fair
where
enough.
your shortcomings are?
Fair
Something
enough.
went wrong with that table. You were obviously confused.
But I indicated to him that I let it bug me.
right.
You know, and for every 0 tip, there's someone that you'll never get to ask why they left you a 40%
Yeah,
tip.
yeah, true.
Because those angels among us tend to leave the tip, close the envelope, and slip out.
Yeah. I lost it on a customer once, and it was unfair. When I was a salesman, an outside salesman for a big product in a big company, and I had made an appointment to take someone to lunch. And lunch means that he's trapped with you for an hour, so that's a real golden opportunity to close a big deal. But when I went to the front desk, I asked for him. The receptionist phoned him, and then she said to me, "Did you have an appointment?" And I said, "Yes, we have an appointment for lunch." And she phoned him back, and there was a little bit of a pause, and then he phoned back and said, talked to her, and she said to me, "He says he's on a diet." And I go, what does that mean? And no, he's not going to lunch. I'm like, okay. So I left. I was sort of, wow, that was weird. I mean, and I get in the elevator, and who gets in the elevator behind me but this guy? And there was other people in the elevator, and for whatever reason, it just really bugged me because when you're in sales, and I see where this guy's frustration comes from, I don't agree with it, you get rejected a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes it catches up to you because there's other things going on in your life as well, and some days it just all piles on. And I just laid into him and said, you're not more important than me. I provide a service you need. I'm selling to you something that you need to buy. We're not adversaries. We're partners. So next time, partner, phone me instead of wasting my time. And it was 18 floors of rant all the way down.
What did the rest of the people in the elevator do?
They were quite entertained, to be perfectly
I would
honest
be.
with you. Everybody sort of backed up against the wall and looked at the numbers like they couldn't hear. But obviously, in elevators, you rarely make eye contact anyways. And he said nothing the whole way down.
Did you ever sell him anything again?
No, that account was taken from me that afternoon.
You know what? I've never been in sales. I lasted as a waitress about 2 days, and that was it. I've never had a sales job to do anything like that. On a professional level, working back at one of my first television stations, my co-host and I, Barry Third, my first co-host, and he's still there. He's a news director, and he's still a really, really great friend. And we ended up co-hosting together for years. But we got into a bit of an argument, and a chair might have got tossed in his general direction. Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it was a little feisty, as my husband would call me, feisty Nester, and it showed up that day.
And you've
I
never had a
regretted that
sales
after
job,
that.
really?
And I've never had a sales job.
Weird.
Surprise.
Oh, man. Anyway, there it is. The voicemail that has trumped any other topic we could possibly consider tackling in this week's edition of The Announcers. You can, of course, catch Andrew and Jaylyn co-hosting the 6:30 CHED afternoon news. And the two of you are just getting set to fly off to Watuco in a short
that's
time.
right.
A couple of weeks.
Can't wait.
Should be good. You can catch my show between 9 and noon. You can follow all three of us on Twitter and be in touch via the email links at 630ched.com. Make it a great day.